This image of a starving boy and his mother in Gaza has been seen by millions around the world. His name is Mohammed, he's 18 months old, and he weighs 6 kilos. His mother, Hidayah al-Mutawi, has lost her home and her husband, who was killed, and Mohammed and many others will not survive much longer unless unrestricted aid starts flowing into Gaza.
He can't stand up on his feet or sit because of the fatigue. We can't get baby formula for Mo because the prices are too high. I go from one hospital to another trying to get him formula, but I can hardly find any.
Mohammed and his mother, Hidayah, were filmed by one of the trusted Palestinian freelancers we work with in Gaza, who are themselves starving. Israel does not allow international journalists to enter the territory. So we went to a spot overlooking Gaza, a vantage point in the frontline town of Sderot, where Hamas attacked and killed Israeli civilians on the 7th of October 2023. Israelis come here to look at the war, only a few miles away. It was hazy, so it was hard to see, and the steady sound of Israeli artillery was carried away on the wind. Since my last visit, vending machines have been installed if anyone needs refreshment. From here, it feels like looking out of one world into another, not distant, but remote and isolated. So, from up here, there are essentially two visions of what's happening in that world. Israel, supported by the United States, says there's plenty of food in Gaza, and if people are going hungry, that's because Hamas has been stealing it and because the UN and others have not been distributing it in the way that they should be. Now, the other version, which is supported by Western governments, including Britain and France, and by aid agencies with decades of experience of operating in war zones, is that Israel's restrictions on the entry and the movement of food and other essential items in Gaza has created a humanitarian catastrophe that means that now people aren't just going hungry, the vulnerable, children, are starving to death. This is not a battlefield, though it might look like one. It's a food distribution point in Gaza. Bullets are kicking up the sand as men wait to get food. It's one of 4 sites run by the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a joint Israeli-US scheme they say replaces the UN and keeps food away from Hamas. This video is of the Foundation's armed American security guards opening fire.
I think you hit one.
It was filmed by a US soldier who signed up for the operation in Gaza after he retired and left, he says, when he saw American colleagues and the IDF killing civilians. The soldier is Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar, a Special Forces veteran of the US Army's Green Berets. He's in Washington. I spoke to him from a spot just near the Gaza border.
I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces shooting at the crowds of Palestinians. I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces firing a main gun tank round from the Markava tank into a crowd of people, destroying a car of civilians that were simply driving away from the site. I witnessed mortar rounds being fired at the crowds of people to keep them controlled.
As a professional soldier with a very long career, what was your professional opinion of what was happening?
My professional opinion of how the sites were established was what I would describe as amateur. Inexperienced, untrained, no idea of how to conduct operations of this magnitude. That would be my most benign assessment. In my most frank assessment, I would say that they're criminal. In my entire career, have I never witnessed the level of brutality and use of indiscriminate and unnecessary force against a civilian population, an unarmed, starving population. I've never witnessed that in all of the places I've been deployed to war until I was in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and US contractors.
Based on the knowledge you have, do you think that you were a witness then to war crimes? I think you're saying that very emphatically.
Without question, I witnessed war crimes. I witnessed war crimes being by the Israeli Defense Forces, without a doubt, using artillery rounds, mortar rounds, firing tank rounds into unarmed civilians, is a war crime.
People can resist hunger for a long time, but in the end their strength ebbs away and deaths can rise exponentially, and that is what seems to be happening now in Gaza. Israel insists its forces have not targeted civilians. Now we have eyewitness testimony to add to the considerable evidence that they've done so as a matter of routine. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Jerusalem.